I wanted to make a quick video about something that I got into an argument with someone on Reddit about a few days ago. It's the idea of rapid language acquisition. Is it bullshit? Well, if you have never seen any video of mine related to language learning, Japanese in particular, let me give you some background. I'm interested in learning things faster, of course. I think there are many ways in which one can rapidly acquire things, languages in particular. It's really just about good technique. Identifying commonly used words and phrases, and discarding the stuff you're not likely to use. Can I explain how a nuclear reactor works with my current level of Japanese? No. But I can't even do that in English. There are areas of fluency even within your native language. Think about all the topics you know absolutely nothing about. Now, when moving into another language, just cut all that same stuff out, right away. You're not going to need it. So this fellow Redditor told me that there's no such thing as rapid language learning, basically. And I think there's probably a large swath of language learners, or just people in general who maybe have flirted briefly with the idea of learning a second language, who also hold this belief. I think at one time I also thought this way. But years and years ago, before I ever started learning any languages as a hobby, I watched a PBS special about Spanish conquistadors in South America. There was this dude named Francisco Pizarro. He kidnapped the then Incan emperor, Atahualpa, with just 200 guys against several thousand, which they massacred, of course. Terrible. But what always struck me was that during the 3 months they held the emperor for ransom, they taught him to speak Spanish. Probably he wasn't fluent, but still. They also forced him to convert to Christianity before eventually killing him, but that's beside the point. I imagine that the native Incan language is very far disposed from Spanish, and yet he had learned enough that he attempted to bargain for his life with his captors. Of course, threat of imminent death is a hell of a motivator, but my point is that when I say rapid language acquisition, what I'm referring to is the ability to communicate basic ideas, like, what a nice day today, or can I have some water, please? Or, how many sisters do you have? Not write Shakespearean sonnets or give an address to Congress. Roughly 7 months ago, when I started my foray into Japanese, I noticed that although there are plenty of gimmicky channels that will teach you the same 5 phrases over and over again, or show you their, amazing Japanese apartment, wow, there was a real lack of comprehensive how-tos online to really get you started speaking from day one, which is why I started my own series of beginner's guide videos. So, given what I experienced trying to learn Japanese, it's really no wonder why someone would think rapid language acquisition is a useless pursuit. It's not real. It's not a thing. It's like something from a movie or some miracle study course that's not real. It makes for good scammer clickbait titles only. A big problem, in my opinion, is that whenever you start anything, you just don't know where to start. So you end up falling into these established methods like books, which are mostly shit and useless. Whereas, instead, people should structure their approach around what's most intuitive. Think about what you want to say in English. Find the quick phrases that allow you to express 70% or so of what you might want to say and memorize them. I mean, how much do people say on a regular basis, really? How big is the average person's vocabulary? 3,000 words, maybe? And of those 3,000 total words, how many gets used in a day? Or in a week, even? a few hundred, maybe. Over these last 7 months since I started learning Japanese, I've interacted with a lot of Japanese natives online. And by 4 months in, many Japanese speakers thought I was studying Japanese for years. Yes, it takes effort and memorization, and I spent a lot of time doing that. But don't try to learn 5 grammar principles all at once. Learn 10 set phrases with the grammar already built into the phrase in a manner that allows you to modify easily the pieces so that you can express a wide range of ideas. And over time, through use, just allow these pieces to fall into place in your mind. Your brain will assemble it after you get accustomed to using it. That's how kids learn. This is how kids learn. This is the natural way that the human brain learns. And it doesn't have anything to do with kids necessarily, or being a child, because there's this sort of erroneous assumption that you need to be only young people, because their brain is still plastic, still elastic, it's still open. There's more synapses firing that allows them to learn things, but it's really just a lack of prejudices which we accumulate over time as we grow into adulthood. These are learned prejudices. So, how long does it take? How long does it really take to learn 10 phrases and maybe 300 vocabulary words? Come on. If you can memorize sports stats and song lyrics, you can learn a second language. So, to make a long video short, yes, I personally believe rapid language acquisition exists. I personally believe that. I've experienced that, I would say, because, Japanese is not my first language. Spanish was my first language. And I used to think that took a long time. And it was less than a year. It took longer than at that time because it was my first language. And your mind is sort of resistant to new ideas, because of those exact prejudices that you learn as you age. Well, why doesn't this work the way I'm accustomed to it working? If I want to say, how old are you? Why do I say, how many years do you have, as in Spanish, and your brain kind of like doesn't want to put that together, but that's just, you need to be receptive and open and just let that in, let that information in and stop being resistant to it. So, anyway, yeah, I don't think you need to learn something young to become reasonably proficient. It's just a matter of using a screwdriver when you need a screwdriver and not a hammer. Just because, schools and books will tell you that's the way it ought to be done. At this point, you're going to require all these tools. No, you're not. Probably all you'll need is a screwdriver and a tape measure. And if you read one of these books, it'll start with, your first tool you'll need to acquire is a hammer, when you may rarely use that. So you've got a whole, tool belt full of tools when you're really, 75% of the time going to use 2 or 3. So my approach, if you want to do it rapidly, is focus on that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And something to consider. So thanks for hearing me out, and check out my videos for Japanese. You might find something useful there. Peace.